Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most enigmatic philosophers in history, wasn't just a thinker, he was a man deeply shaped by struggle, tragedy, and an uncompromising search for truth. Born on February 22nd in 1788 in Danzig, Prussia, Schopenhauer was destined for a life that veered away from societal norms. But his brilliance would only emerge through a crucible of personal hardship. Raised in a wealthy merchant family, Arthur's early life was shaped by his father, Heinrich, who envisioned a practical, worldly future for his son. However, this vision clashed with Arthur's introspective and philosophical nature. The relationship between father and son was fraught with tension, and when Heinrich died, under circumstances widely believed to be suicide, it left a void in young Arthur's life that would haunt him forever. It was during this period of grief that Arthur turned inward, seeking solace in literature, philosophy, and his own thoughts. He once wrote, "The world is my idea," signaling a profound realization that everything we experience is shaped by the lens of our minds. His philosophical foundation was beginning to take root. Schopenhauer's philosophical outlook wasn't born in a vacuum. Influenced by Eastern philosophy, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism, and the works of Kant, he developed a worldview centered on the will, a blind, insatiable force that drives all life. To him, this will was the root of human suffering. Why? Because it was never satisfied. This idea came into sharp focus as Schopenhauer's personal life grew increasingly tumultuous. After studying in Göttingen and Berlin, Arthur completed his magnum opus, The World as Will and Representation, in 1818. He believed it would revolutionize philosophy. Instead, it was met with deafening silence. This rejection was devastating. Schopenhauer retreated into solitude, his bitterness deepening. Yet it was during this period of obscurity that he honed his most impactful ideas. He argued that true happiness was unattainable because human desires were endless. The only reprieve from this suffering, he proposed, was through aesthetic experiences like art, music, and literature, or through renunciation, the suppression of one's will. While his contemporaries like Hegel basked in fame, Schopenhauer's ideas remained in the shadows. But unlike most philosophers, he didn't seek validation from academic institutions. Instead, he placed his faith in the power of time. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see, he famously quipped. Schopenhauer's cynicism about human relationships extended to his personal life. Never married, he distrusted close connections and believed that solitude was the philosopher's true ally. And yet, his relationship with his beloved poodle, Atma, revealed a tender side. Atma was named after the Sanskrit word for soul, embodying the duality of Schopenhauer's nature. A man distrustful of human connections, but deeply affectionate toward his canine companion. What can we learn from Schopenhauer in today's chaotic, expectation-driven world? He offers 5 timeless insights. Acceptance of suffering. Schopenhauer teaches that suffering isn't an aberration, but an integral part of life. By accepting it, we can stop fighting against reality and instead find peace. The power of art and music. Art, according to Schopenhauer, allows us to temporarily transcend the suffering of the will. Music, in particular, connects us to the purest form of existence, bypassing our desires and bringing us closer to tranquility. Solitude as strength. Schopenhauer believed that solitude wasn't loneliness, but a state where we could engage with our deepest thoughts. In solitude, we find clarity and strength. The trap of endless desire. He warned against the endless pursuit of desires, which only leads to frustration. True contentment comes not from getting what we want, but from wanting less. Compassion as a virtue. Despite his pessimism, Schopenhauer saw compassion as a moral imperative. He believed that recognizing the shared suffering of all beings was the key to a more ethical life. It wasn't until the last 2 decades of his life that Schopenhauer's ideas began gaining traction. As Europe grappled with political upheaval and social change, his work resonated with those searching for deeper meaning in life. His popularity soared, and his once dismissed books became essential reading for thinkers like Nietzsche, Wagner, and Freud. Ironically, Schopenhauer's later years were spent basking in the recognition he had always believed he deserved. But his newfound fame didn't alter his worldview. He remained steadfast in his belief that life was fundamentally tragic, yet he saw beauty in the fleeting moments of joy and understanding that emerged amidst the pain. Schopenhauer's philosophy is not about despair, but resilience. He doesn't promise a utopia or a life free of hardship. Instead, he offers a roadmap to navigate life's inevitable struggles with grace and understanding. His inner spark, a relentless quest to understand the human condition, still burns brightly in the pages of his work. As you reflect on Schopenhauer's story, ask yourself, how can you find meaning in a world that often feels overwhelming? Perhaps, like Schopenhauer, the answer lies not in escaping the chaos, but in embracing it with open eyes and a calm heart. What part of Schopenhauer's philosophy resonates most with you? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that delve into the lives and ideas of history's greatest thinkers.